Hi and welcome to your fifth tutorial on John Steinbeck's Of Mice and Men. And in this tutorial we're going to look at our first impressions of Curley's wife. Now, Curley's wife is an important character in the novel, and people are often in disagreement about what type of character she is. For some people, Curley's wife represents a victim, a sort of victim of a male-dominated society. However, a lot of other people see her as the villain of the novel, who causes all the problems for George and Lenny and the other men on the ranch, and in the end ultimately gets what she deserves. Now, it's up to you what side you want to come down on, whether you see her as a victim or whether you see her as a villain or whether you see her as a little bit of both. Okay, I'm not going to tell you what side to come down on. That's entirely up to you. It's your interpretation. But we're going to start off anyway by talking about our first impressions of Curley's wife and how these ideas might feed into the rest of the novel. So here's the description from when she first appears. The rectangle of sunshine in the doorway was cut off. A girl was standing there looking in. She had full rouged lips and wide-spaced eyes heavily made up. Her fingernails were red, and red mules, on the instep of which were little bouquets of red ostrich feathers. So the first thing to talk about in terms of Curley's wife's entrance is that we actually see her impact on her environment before we actually see her. The passage opens with the rectangle of sunshine and the doorway was cut off. So as she's standing there, she's blocking the light into the room. Now, sunshine and light can be seen to represent hope in this novel. And you can actually trace the way that Steinbeck uses images of light and shade throughout the novel and sort of map that against George and Lenny's hopes and dreams, and the way that those hopes and dreams build up and then sort of fall at the end. So that's something that you can look at sort of generally. But for this first impression of Curley's wife, if we accept that sunshine and light can be seen to represent hope, then we see that Curley's wife, from the moment that she appears, is affecting that hope in a negative way. So Curley's wife blocks the light, and later in the novel she actually destroys George and Lenny's hopes of having their own farm. So in that sense you might see her as a villain. Okay, the next part looks at her physical appearance. So she's got wide-spaced eyes and she's heavily made up. Now, wide-spaced eyes suggests that Curley's wife is still young and innocent, and in fact in this quotation she's described as a girl, not as a woman. But then again, heavily made up could suggest sort of more maturity, because we'd expect people to wear makeup when they're older. But it could also suggest that she's trying to be older than she is. So she's trying to hide that innocence and look more mature and sexually attractive. So in that sense, we can maybe see her as a victim in the sense that she's quite innocent, but also we can see her perhaps as a villain because she's trying to entice the men in some way, perhaps not in the way that the men think, but certainly she's seeking their attention. Okay, so you'll also notice in this quotation that Steinbeck uses the word red a lot. Okay, red is a key word when we're thinking about Curley's wife. Now, the word red is often associated with things like love, sexuality, and danger. Now, on the ranch, Curley's wife is seen as being dangerous because she is sexually attractive, and in fact, in the end, it is her sexuality that gets her into trouble. So that's important to pick up in that first quotation. Now, also, we notice that her shoes have got little ostrich feathers on them. Now, you could say that that's just a way of making them look sort of nice and pretty and fancy because she wants to look nice, but in ancient Greek mythology, ostrich feathers are seen to represent truth and justice, which raises the question, is Curley's wife truthful? I mean, she certainly doesn't pull any punches when she's talking to the men about what she thinks about them. She's very open and honest about those kind of things. But at the same time, she does kind of seem quite deceitful where it comes to Curly. She's also very honest when she's talking to Lenny about how she feels about Curly and tells him things that says she's never told anybody else. So maybe there is some truthfulness in her. But then there's a question of justice. Does she get what she deserves in the end? Well, again, it comes down to this idea of the victim or the villain. It's up to you what you think about that. Okay, one other final thing that I'm going to mention about Curly's wife, which hopefully has been pointed out to you already or you've figured it out already, is that she doesn't have a name. She's Curly's wife. She's a possession, and that is quite important. Steinbeck didn't just, say, "Oh, I can't be bothered giving her a name. I'll just call her Curly's wife." Her name is Curly's wife, and so her name suggests that she belongs to Curly. She's not a person in her own right. She is a possession, and maybe that makes her a victim in a sense. I don't know. Again, it's up to you. You decide. So, to conclude, Curly's wife is portrayed as being flirtatious and sexually dangerous. She is the reason that the dream is destroyed. However, she also comes across as being quite innocent and naive later in the novel. Perhaps that's part of what makes her dangerous. I guess in a way you could see her as being a little bit like Lenny, in the sense that Lenny's very childlike but very strong, and that makes him dangerous. Curly's wife, in some ways, comes across as being quite innocent, but she's also sexually attractive, so that makes her dangerous too. Again, that's something that you can explore. So, I hope you found that useful. That's it for this tutorial. As always, if you want to go and check out some of our resources, you can do so at lulu.com/spotlight/schoolfrog. Or if you want to have a look at our blog and keep up to date with what we're up to, you can find us at schoolfrog.blogspot.co.uk. Okay, so thanks very much for watching the tutorial. I hope it was useful to you, and we'll see you next time.